Hello everyone, it's Pam here with Tattered Paper and Lace, and it is Monday, April the 7th, and we are on letter F of the ABC April 2025 challenge for April with that by Seven Plaza, Margaret at Seven Plaza, and Crafty by Tony. And it is hashtag ABC April 2025. And today the letter is F. And my word for today and what we're going to do today is fire. Now, what I mean by that is I have two pieces of paper here. One of them has actually been burned with matches. And the other one has been made with faux fire, faux scorching, using distressed ink and distressed oxide. So I wanted to just share with you how I do that. You may already know how to do this, and if you do, that's great. But, you know, it takes a little bit of thinking, or it did for me, to get it just right. And so tell me which one you think is real, which one you think is not real. One is really burnt and one is pretend burnt, if you want to call it that. Anyway, so this is 1 and this one is 2. Put in the comment box which one you think is really burnt and which one you think is artificial. So I'm going to take those away. And I have a piece of paper that is like these. And I am going to show you how I make it be an artificial faux burnt edge. If you wonder why this piece of tape is down here, I had a subscriber say that I was out of frame a little bit and they couldn't see what I was doing. So I said, well, I'm going to put a line at the bottom of where I need to be. And I can't cross this line. So we hope that works. We'll see. So I've got my piece of paper. I'm going to have distress oxide in frayed burlap, distressed ink in walnut stain, and oxide in black soot. So I'm using these 3 colors. And so they're going to be, you're not necessarily going to see the whole pad there if I'm going to stay in frame. So let me get those open in my piece of paper here. And we start out by tearing the edges of the paper. And when you do the tearing, you need to start from the top and tear toward you in this fashion. And make it be jaggedy. And you want that white edge to show. And I am going to go through and tear each one. And just make it be really, really jaggedy. Pointy, however, whatever. And make it look tattered. And so that is what we're going to do with this. The first thing I do is I have a blending sponge for each of these. I'm going to move this up a little bit, so I'm going to move this down a little bit. Straighten you all up and bring it in. Whoops, bring it in. So let me pull this back down. See, that line's going to work out well. Okay, so I have my piece of paper. I am going to take the frayed burlap, which is the lightest of the colors, and I'm going to go around the edge of my paper. And you kind of want it to bleed in just a little bit. So I don't want it to just be on the edge. I want it to bleed in just a little bit. And we go all the way around. And I'm gonna have a piece of book page here, an old book page, because sometimes I need to make it be a little bit darker, and I need to do that in a different way. And I'll show you what I'm talking about in just a moment. So you go all the way around with your piece. And you're making, this is the lightest color, so you want to make it be a little bit over into the paper a bit. And then we're going to put that one aside. And the next color we're going to do is walnut stain. And I'm going to do that along the edge again. It can, just a little bit, come in because you need for some of that, you need for it to look like it's inside, coming into the paper some. Because when you actually burn the paper, the scorching, not always, but sometimes the scorching is going to, bleed into the paper. Not always, but sometimes. So we're going to go around the edge of this. Sometimes it will look more like this, and sometimes it will look more like this. It depends on when you get it, the fire out and how long it stays on there. I'm going to bring it back out just a little bit, a little too close. Okay, there we go. And that is your second layer. This is going to be a quick video because this doesn't take long. And then I'm using this, but I'm using the oxide, this little color box sponge is just about out of ink, so I'm dipping it into the black soot oxide to get enough on there. And then this is your last layer, and you just kind of touch this. And you mostly want this to be on the edge, and it doesn't need to be everywhere. It can be, but it doesn't have to be. So you just kind of dab it on, because it's supposed to look like the burnt edge. And that, right there, that's all you do. And then you have a burnt piece of paper. Or so it looks like. And that's all you do. So we can do another one if you'd like. I've got these squares that are just layering pieces that I think these came from Temu. So let's do this one. I like this. Let's do this one. And we'll do that process one more time to show you. And I'll do it a little bit differently because it does do a little bit differently when you burn it. Depending on how it does. So we're going to tear the edge, tearing towards yourself, so that you have the white edge. You can see the white edge there, because that takes the ink a little bit better. And then you wanted to make it be really ragged looking. Just like that. I just throw those little pieces away. I don't feel the need to keep all those tiny pieces myself. Okay. Again, I'm going to have this handy in case I need it. And then we're going to, again, ink with, and you want to cover up the white, so that helps it, come into the paper a little bit. We're going to ink with the frayed burlap, which is an oxide, I believe. I think distress ink on any of these would work. If you happen to have the distressed ink instead of oxide, it's the color that matters. I don't think it matters if it's an distressed ink or an oxide. And so we're gonna go around the edges of that. Bring that in just a little bit in some of the areas, not all of them. Next is walnut stain, and this one is ink. And I'm going to go around it again. And get it a little bit darkened. And then, after we do that, and see, that even looks pretty good. But the black really sets it off, I think. And so we're just going to do the black right along the edge. Not over into it very much because it looks more like a scorched edge if you don't go into it very much. And then you just need a little bit of that. And so there's those two pieces. Now, you might be able to tell, you might not be able to tell. I'm going to move these back out, show you these again. This is the order they were in. So 1 or 2. Which one is real? Which one is not real? Okay, that is fire for F on the hashtag ABC April 2025 April challenge. I will move these my inks out and bring in this a little closer. And tell me which one you think is the real burnt paper and the one that's the faux burnt paper. And that's 1 and that's 2. So let me know what you think. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you tomorrow for letter G. Bye.